This week's episode is brought to you by our generous patron, Unsocial Penguin, also known as Chris. And thank you so much for doing that. Without further ado, here's this week's episode. There you go. Can you guess what we're going to be talking about today on Vice of Life?
Motorboating.
Oh, that's a good point.
Big boobies.
Yeah.
Ooh. Maybe we should change the topic. We'll call it an audible.
Yes. Because it's the only time we're changing up mid-show. Beginning of show, whatever.
This is Vice of Life, the show where I neglected to pull up the new thing. Every week, we sit down, and I've only done it twice, okay? Every week, we sit down to talk about a varying topic, tangentially or directly relating to life. I'm your host, Logan. Joining me is Eloy.
Howdy.
And Josh.
Hi there.
Howdy. Those are the right accents to be using for this episode, because today we're going to be talking about cars, of course. I'm not really a car guy, but I don't know. I figured it'd be a good topic. There's stuff there to talk about. So
No, I think none of us are really car guys.
yeah.
No, not necessarily. I like to maintain my car and kind of like, upkeep it and like restore the exterior and interior. But as far as like the engine and shit, I don't know a lot.
Yeah. The parts that you see, you like to
Yeah.
or feel.
Mostly, maybe you guys will relate to this, but I mostly have learned stuff through having bad cars, and then my dad working on it, and just being that classic thing where you just stand there with the flashlight and they like yell a lot. And
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of
Definitely.
that.
I mean, yeah, my dad did that too, but he wasn't a car guy, and he messed things up more than
Oh damn.
anything. But we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Before that, though, we usually talk about what we did in the week, because especially now we only really catch up with Eloy once a week
True.
or so. So Eloy, what have you been up to the last week?
Nothing too exciting. I've just been seeing all these posts about people all gaining weight during quarantine.
Oh yeah.
Strangely enough, I feel like I can't relate. I feel like I would be eating a lot, but I have not eaten almost anything for the last 2 days.
Oh god. Wow.
And it's been a lot like that the last week. I'll eat like once a day, something real small. And just done for the next day.
Is that good for you, though? You and those big
No, not at all.
muscles?
No.
Yeah.
Gonna lose that muscle, man.
Oh, I already am.
I know. I kind of have been too.
I think I'm getting depressed about it, and maybe that's why I'm not eating. Who knows?
No.
So I go the other direction. I eat a lot if I'm depressed, but I've been doing all right. I mean, I think like I had to go do a physical thing for this job not too long ago, which sadly did not work out, but something else will. But I had to do just all your basic like checks and all that, and they checked my weight, and yeah, it was more than I thought. I was kind of like, what the fuck happened, man? Like,
I don't remember the last time I checked, but I do. I went and got tested for the diseases.
oh, did you?
Because-
I need to do that
Because it's a
actually.
good thing to do.
It is.
But
Keep seeing I'm going to.
so I went and did that, and then they ask like just basic like weight, like what do you weigh? What's your height? But I know that I think I've gained weight because rather than just going to my 120 that I used to do all those years ago, I was just like, oh, it's around 120 because I don't ever really weigh myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I've definitely gained weight. So I was like, oh, 130.
Yeah.
So, I assume I'm gaining weight, but at least that was my natural response was to be like, yeah, I've probably gained 10 pounds. So here we go. But
Yeah.
who knows, man?
I don't know. You don't really show it though, like for me, I don't even know how much I've like gained weight necessarily, but it definitely like shifts. Like I was starting to get more kind of bulk or whatever, like arms and shit, and now I'm just kind of like sculpting my dad bod, like it's going into my gut and
Yeah.
mostly that. Like
I haven't noticed. I think you wear it well.
that's good. Thank
If
you.
anything. So, I mean, my worry is that if I think all mine goes to my stomach, and so I'll still have these really skinny ass arms and shit.
Yeah.
I'll be one of those weird guys with like super skinny arms and legs, but this big ass gut. So that's what I don't want. But
Yeah.
I know it's such a weird balancing act. I'm like, I feel like if I'm losing weight, it's got to be muscle, and I panic more losing muscle than I do losing fat.
I get that.
And I don't know. Then when I gain weight, I'm like, there's no way this is muscle. This is fat. So I go into panic mode then as well.
Well, like I got a Fitbit watch not too long ago, and it's funny to observe my like heart rate because it's pretty like low in the morning and stuff, but as my like caffeine consumption goes up, it'll like go into fat burn mode because my heart's just like racing. And sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe I'm doing all right. Let's just keep the stimulants up and everything will be fine, Like,
I just don't know enough about health and stuff. Like, I should really just get into that more because I know the basics of like, eat greens and,
yeah.
Don't overeat and
Yeah.
all this stuff. But then you're talking about like heart rates and stuff. And I'm like, man.
It just tells you, it'll say like fat burn when it's like 110 or whatever. Like average is like 60 to 80. So that's pretty, it's probably
That's a lot of stimulants.
building towards, a lot of health problems, but we'll see.
I don't know, man. Again, after 40, I've let this narrative go away, but I'm going to bring it back. Remember, once I hit 40, it's all downhill from there. So.
Yeah.
All bets are off.
But yeah, so what have you been eating? Is it like a big meal, Eloy, or is it just like, you said it was a little thing. So you're eating like a granola bar and you're good for the whole day?
Can't do that.
There's it's like a granola bar, maybe a salad or something, and then it's like it for me.
What's in your salad? It's the new campaign for, healthy Americans. What's in your salad?
Yeah. That's pretty good.
I don't know. I have like this weird protein mix where it's like pistachios or walnuts or something like that, and cranberries, all this other stuff. And then I usually just have that on top of a bed of spinach.
Wow.
That's pretty
So
healthy.
I'm eating decent still,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I haven't been eating much is all.
Yeah, I can't. Like, even if I'm, like, I've just been doing the delivery shit, and even though I'm mostly just sitting in the car or walking around a grocery store, I'll go through, like, multiple granola bars, a protein drink, like, some kind of a caffeinated beverage, I'll come back and eat, and then go back and kind of do the same shit over. And that's like, when I had a somewhat more physical job, I had to eat more than that, just so I didn't, like, burn out, basically. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, tricky.
Yeah.
For me.
I've gotten back into sodas recently too. I think I actually said that last week.
Oh
2
yeah.
weeks ago. Yeah, it's real bad, man. I was always, whenever I heard people say like sugar is like really bad for you and it's kind of addictive, I'm like, no, it's fine. And then once I cut out like sodas and a lot of candy and stuff, but then I'm back on that shit. I'm like, oh my god, it is an addiction because it's all I want ever, and it's gonna be hard to break it again.
You can do it.
I don't know. So what did you do, Josh?
Well, naturally, mine's a little bit more heavy, but useful, I think. The way I've been wanting to put it, I guess, is like learning from your past. That's how I'll put it. What I was gonna say is communication. Like that's very important, and but it was actually sort of the lack of communication that forced me to. It was a lot of deja vu. This is relationship related, and I was in this situation with my previous girlfriend, and there was like this elephant in the room, but we couldn't. She didn't want to talk about it, and I kept trying to like get it to go somewhere, and it just wasn't reciprocated like at all. And I've been in that boat before, and I just wasn't gonna do that. Like I told myself after a past person, like if we can't be honest with each other and communicate and shit, that I'm not gonna like that's very important to me. And it's just not a match if that's not there, you know?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm technically single. We've kind of got something going already, but
Yeah.
I got like set up at this party, but
Facebook
yeah,
says something else.
kind of a quick turnaround there. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it's also like recognizing patterns, you know, and kind of identifying when something isn't healthy and looking back on red flags with like hindsight. And so now I'm going to try to do that with, I guess, like foresight or whatever, like kind of weigh people out a little more than I used to instead of just like assuming the best or like assuming things will get better.
Yeah.
And it's not that it was bad or anything, like, you know, it was good stuff. I'm happy to have those memories, but yeah, I got to have that communication because when there's something there that's not right, if we can't talk it out, it's not going to go away. And like that just, yeah. So anyway, learning from your past, you know,
It's important.
It is.
Especially in those situations. I think
Yeah.
I think what you want and what you realize you need out of a relationship evolves over time.
Yeah, it does.
And I think that's part of the reason. That's why it's wild to me that some people will say like, you know, don't have sex with unless you're gonna after you're married, you know,
Oh, yeah.
because you learn a
Nope.
lot through that, and that's
You
just
do.
another thing. But basically, what I'm trying to say is, if you don't start out learning from these experiences, then you can't have that foresight in the future, like
Yeah.
what you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
to me, it's been amazing to see in my life where, you know, when I was first dating, the only thing I cared about was like, how's she gonna make me look to my friends?
Right.
And then it
Yeah.
evolved into like, how are we gonna be? How are we gonna make each other happy? Then it's like it evolved into that, and I think I'm in a similar spot with you, is where
Yeah.
one of my biggest turn-ons and one of the things that I look for the most is people who say we need to communicate the most,
Yeah.
and
Well,
that stuff's important.
it is, and it's kind of like this deeper thing where it's, at least for me, maybe it's different for other people, but that's like when there's not that communication there, that's one of the first, well, it's kind of just like a symptom or like an after effect of the person not being very honest with themselves, not taking the initiative to change. There's like a lot of things that will communicate, you know? And yeah, I mean, you just got to be honest with yourself and with them, and hopefully they are too, where it's like we just have different wants and needs and blah blah blah, and if neither side is feeling like their best self around the other one, then just that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
just don't beat a dead horse, pretty much. Like, and I've always been in that habit of trying to make something last for like months when I should have just cut it off, basically. And so I feel like it was healthier to just be like, well, let's not do this, and then maybe if things change later, we'll try again. But that never really happens. So.
Right. Yeah.
It's very mature of you to have identified the issue and not written it up, not wrote it off.
Yeah, I tried for a little bit, but it was a pattern. Like I just saw that I'd done all that before, and it was like neither side's gonna be happy. So off with their head, you know.
Yeah. Well.
With no hate, it was like just a conversation. Like I'm not trying to talk shit or anything, just different different love languages, I guess. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I I admire that you were able to do that because
the new thing. I wasn't
Yeah.
always like that. Like,
it's important though. I mean,
yeah.
I can sense you're still kind of broken up about it, but you're at least you have that that comfort within to be like you notice the pattern, you got ahead of the problem, and
Yeah.
that. So
Well, it's I don't know. We don't have to dwell too much into it, but
yeah,
it is a tricky thing because it's just like, man, again, like, what is it that I'm missing? Like, why does this always get to this place? And so anyway, that's
I don't know.
like it is shitty for the current thing and for mostly for the other person because I don't want to come off like it didn't mean anything, I guess. So I want to give it proper like levity. Like I'm fine, I'm good. Yeah, it's shitty, but like this is the easiest I've recovered. Well, actually, that's not true. In the last like year or two, we talked about all that already, I guess. But I'm learning how to bounce back, I guess. Like that's always been a struggle for me.
Yeah.
And it's good, man. And I hope they do too. And
Yeah.
put it in me. You
All
know?
right. Great. Well, I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
My,
Well, I'm happy and I'm sad for you. You know, I don't know.
Now
Yeah, I
I'm
don't know.
good, man.
Complicated feelings.
It's complicated for sure.
proud of you. How about that?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. There you go. It's
All
going to
right.
be good.
That's good. Outlook, man. Positive attitudes,
Yeah.
positive outcomes,
Yeah.
as they say. All right. Well,
What about you, huh?
oh man. Well, I'm realizing now that I'm not working both jobs mostly
Yeah.
is that I don't do well if I don't have a responsibility in the time.
Me too.
I just sit around and feel like shit about it. On Memorial Day, my family had to get together. My family's pretty big, and so I was kind of like, I had questions about going. There's going to be like almost 20 people there in a small house. And I was just kind of like, well, I could go, but also, do I want to? So it was kind of like I could go and like wear a mask and try to keep my distance, and maybe it'll be okay if I stay outside most of the time.
Yeah.
But then I was also like, well, I could also just stay home and not worry about it. Because a lot of my family hasn't really been distancing, from what I understand. And so I was just like, I'll just stay home. So I stayed home, and then the only thing I did was I got cat food, and and I just sat around, and about 2 o'clock, I started feeling like, wow, I feel like a real piece of shit that I'm just sitting around on the holiday here. I could have even been working at my job if I signed up for it, but I didn't. So I need responsibility. So,
I get that.
Yeah.
it's kind of a terrible thing, but the older
No.
I get, the more responsibility I want, and I think it becomes a liability at some point, though, where I always bounce back and forth between I feel like I have too much responsibility and then not enough, and I can't find a good middle ground. So, but I don't know. So I don't really have anything. That's what happened
No.
this week. You know.
That's interesting.
No, I know exactly what you mean. Like, I have the next few days off, and I just sit around until I feel obligated to take the dogs for a walk, and that's about all I do in a day.
Yeah.
It's fucking terrible, man. I don't know. And then part of me is like, oh, it'll be fine when we can go back and do stuff without worrying about it. Like I do want to like go on hikes and stuff, but all I've heard is that they're still just so busy because of everybody wants to go on hikes right now.
Yeah, everybody's thinking, oh, I'll go on a hike where it's outdoors and there's not many people.
Yeah, and that kind of
But-
like defeats the purpose of why I like to go on hikes. So I don't know.
I get that.
But
You have to be choosy with it. Like I honestly can't stand like big and little cottonwood because they're always just packed. So I just kind of avoid those in general.
yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, there's places. I mean, I kind of got like pulled in. I mean, I wanted to do it, but it wasn't my plan. But I went on this little It wasn't even really a hike. I thought it was going to be more of a hike, but all we really had to do was cross this like really sketchy bridge thing, and then there was like this cave like right up there, like just right there, and it was cool. I mean, it was nice, and there wasn't really a lot of people there, and yeah, I mean it's hard though. Like I try to dig around online for like cool hikes and blah blah blah, and there's always like the main list, and there's always like a bunch of reviews, and you're like, well, there's gonna be people at those ones. Like,
Yeah. The best spots are like word of mouth, but I don't
Yeah.
have any like outdoorsy. In Utah, there's types of people, you know, that you grow up with. You know,
Yeah.
in high school, it's the jocks or whatever, and then you grow up and it's like different kinds of cliques, so to speak. And there's definitely like an outdoor clique type. Like I can imagine, I have a picture of the dude in my mind
yeah,
where he wears flannels. He drives a Subaru hatchback, and
yeah,
he, you know, he has a really big beard. He's blonde. You know, like I have a very specific picture in my mind, and I'm like, that dude knows where the good hikes are that aren't that busy. But
true.
Yeah.
That's like his whole thing is like, no one's ever heard of this spot, man.
yeah, exactly. I need to get more of those friends, man.
I know.
I don't know. I wanted to go on back when we were doing like the shared vices way early in the podcast. I wanted to go climb the highest peak in Utah. And I don't know. I think I still want to do that, but I'll need to work on my backpacking skills first of all, and then, well, that's second of all after working on my my fitness level.
Yeah.
So,
I get that.
that is, I think, one of my bucket list. I'll add that to my bucket list. But
Yeah, let's do it. That sounds pretty sweet.
yeah, Kings Peak.
All right.
All right. Well, let's get into talking about cores. So, I don't know. Just recently, I think I talked about this too on a previous episode, but I think I'm writing it down as going to happen right now. I'm going to get a motorcycle when I pay off my car. I'm going
Yeah?
to do it. It's
Hell
going to
yeah.
be great.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be fun, and so that just got me thinking about like vehicles, and then I was thinking about like my my childhood, and me talking to my friend Nathan about like, yeah, dude, we're gonna get like Vipers, and I was like, I didn't know what a fucking Viper was, but I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get a Viper because
Yeah.
he knew what a Viper was, and he's talking about Jaguars, and I'm like, yeah, and so. I don't know. Cars have always been like this cool thing to me, but it's always been this thing where I can't get to the level of passion. I don't think I'll ever be able to do that as these car dudes are. Like, even when I was talking to Brittany about getting a motorcycle, she was she's so funny. She has a truck. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to get a motorcycle. And then she's like, yeah, I have a couple in my name. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, she just has all these cars, and so maybe I'll use hers. But
There you go.
anyways, she was asking, like, how many cylinders? And I'm like, you know.
More than average. Yeah, it's like, I don't know.
She's like, I just want a motorcycle, you know.
Yeah.
And so, like, when people ask me those technical questions, I always get thrown for a loop. But
Me too.
I don't know. I like the way cars look. I like how they drive for the most part. I mean, I've never been behind like a Mercedes or anything, but you know, I like a fast car. Vroom vroom. I don't know the fastest. I just remember going from my 2003 Honda Civic, which kind of like chugged a little bit, and then going to the car I have now, which is a 2014 Corolla. And it's not like a Corolla is a beast car, you know, it's just a regular car, but
Yeah.
it's a whole 11-year span of difference.
Oh, yeah.
And the pickup speed is like was much faster, and now I feel like my car's slow. But I remember going from that to my current car and being like, holy shit, this is so fast, this is so cool. And so I don't know, one day, you know, maybe I'll get behind the Tesla or whatever the fuck.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's super fast. There's a certain kind, but I don't know. So, I don't know. Do you guys have any dream aspirational places to be with cars? Any cars you want specifically?
I've always been very much infatuated with muscle cars.
Yeah, I get that.
and I feel like they're not too. They kind of lost the muscle car aspect in recent years, like Camaros, Chargers, or Challengers and everything. Challengers still do kind of have like the old muscle car shape that I really love, but apparently that's a really cliche one to enjoy. But whatever.
No, they are pretty sweet.
My dad has a Camaro, and that thing, talking about being in fast cars, that thing was fucking terrifying to be in. He let me drive it one time. He's like, okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to floor it and then whip around this guy. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, gosh.
And like, God, I panicked. I did it, but I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
Your dad is no joke, man. He was super intimidating to me for a long time, and now I see the goodness in him when he says that kind of stuff, and it just kind of makes me laugh. And I don't know, maybe I should. You think if I go over there, he'll let me drive it? No?
It has to be coincidental. I don't know. Like, we're taking a ride and I'm like, hey, Logan, you want to drive? I think he'd have second thoughts. I think he gets like.
You'd have to make it think. You'd have to make him think it's his idea. Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he gets this high when he's in the Camaro. Like, he really wants to show off. So I think he'd be like, hey, Logan, you want to drive it?
And then I'd be saying, yeah, and he'd probably be like, nah, fuck you. I say,
yeah.
that too.
I think if you approached him like, hey, can I drive your Camaro? He'd be like, no.
Yeah, it's probably fair. It is about approach. But I don't know. You mentioned something that I think is kind of funny where people, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I see somebody driving like a Camaro, like if I saw your dad doing what he told you to do on the street, I'd be like, oh, this asshole. I hope you
Yeah.
I hope you have bad things happen to you. I get more specific than that, but I won't say it here.
Yeah.
And then, but if I was in that position, I probably would try to be like that too. So
Exactly.
I don't know. I've never been in that situation, so that's why I'm longing for your dad's offer. See, there's good.
Well, I kind of have a thing where I don't necessarily want to drive other people's cars because I just worry I would fuck it up in some way. Like,
Yeah.
but that is a whole other level of person that goes beyond like showing off what they have and what they can do to being like, yeah, you like that? Like, you drive it, huh? Like, it's kind of this whole other type of energy where it's like, I know it's mine and I want to show it off like through you. Like, it's kind of like a dad thing sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
see if you can handle it, you know? Like, I can. Like, that's why I bought it. Like, that's like that kind of mindset. But like Chris, my friend Chris, or our friend, I don't know. He's like a car guy, but it's more, I mean, he likes to do like tuning and shit to like get it as good as it can be, but he doesn't necessarily buy like a top of the line car. Like, it's kind of weird, but he's always like, drive this thing, man. Like, you got to drive, blah, blah, blah. And like, I'm always kind of like timid. I'm like, oh, let's kind of get a feel for it before I just like floor it and go crazy, even though he wants me to do that because he like wants to experience it through me, I guess is the only way to put it. Because like, he's used to it. So it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. Like,
Trying to siphon your joy.
yeah.
Right.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's part of the reason that I can't get into that world of like, man, you gotta drive. It's that kind of mentality. Like, I don't know. Again, it's all about approach. Like, if he came, he's like, hey man, you want to drive it? You want to take it for a spin around the block or whatever? I'd be like, yeah, sure, why not? But if he's like, you gotta drive this, man. It's the best. You gotta fucking drive it. Like,
Well, and he's sitting there and
that
he's
makes
like,
it
come
that much
on.
more
Like,
intimidating.
yeah. Like, driving it alone or something, that'd be one thing. But when they're like watching you and they're like, come on, push it and da-da-da, you're just like,
Yeah.
For me, I don't know. But
I mean, it's even like that when you take like test drives at like dealerships
Oh,
or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
Like-
it's the same thing.
Yeah. I had never used a rear view camera before. Like, this is so not cool. I had never used a rear view camera before, and he's like, yeah, just go ahead and back up into the parking spot. And there's like, two cars next to it, like
Oh,
brand new
yeah.
cars. I'm like, okay, man. And I'm like doing it slowly. Like, I have to like keep backing out and going back and forth. He's just like, use the rear view camera. I'm like, yeah, dude, totally. And I've never used it before, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
You're just like, shut up, let me focus.
And eventually, he's just like, it's all right, man. Just head inside. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, that's kind of a big ask. I feel like they should do it.
Yeah.
That's part of the like sales pitch or whatever. Like, oh, we got you. Like, you're covered. Don't worry. I don't know though.
Yeah. And then like he took the front seat and he just backed right in. Like before we even got inside, he's just like,
Yeah.
and he like jogs up behind us. He's like, all right, let's go. It's like, hey man, fuck you, okay? But
I found that I've gotten pretty good at it with my, like, it's kind of like a compact SUV type thing, because I learned to like align, like you kind of have to know the spacing of the vehicle, like you have to get used to it, and kind of know like how far back your back tire is and blah blah blah, and like always kind of come at it at an angle, and like think about where the back tire is versus like the parking lines, and then kind of just like go into it, but. I don't know. Like the other day, I'm borrowing my parents' Corolla right now. It's maybe even the same year. I don't really know.
it looks similar.
Looks pretty similar.
Within a year or two, yeah.
Yeah. And it has a little backup camera on it, and I actually gave it too much of the benefit of the doubt. Like I thought it was like super accurate with the spacing. And totally like scraped Ryan's car a little bit. Like,
Does he know, or he just kind of been? Like,
yeah, he was. Of course, he came outside to look for something, and like right as he walked out, I was like, "It's like, oh god."
Oh,
So I'm gonna. It wasn't too bad. I'm gonna help him like buff it out or whatever. But yeah, I was like, oh well, it says I'm good. Let's just like floor this, and like it was within its own view, but not like directly next to the camera.
Yeah.
So.
He did say that. He's like, the red line is like where your back bumper is. And I'm like, oh, okay. So
Yeah.
that was the one tip he gave me before being like... And I don't know, there are different like cameras that they use. And so like the width is different, And I don't know. If I'm just driving somebody else's car and it has a rear view camera, I'm just like, no, I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way because
yeah.
it's not worth bothering trying to learn. But...
Yeah, I've never owned a car with one. I've basically only ever owned like older vehicles. I used to have a 2011 Jeep, but it was kind of like stripped down, like it didn't have that type of stuff. So I've never, like other people's cars I've driven, they have them, but I thought about even like installing one on my current vehicle, but it seems like too much work. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's a little bit less of a return for the work than you'd want to put in. But I don't know, man. If you like working on your car, then who cares,
Yeah, I might.
Eloy, though, I just realized that you got a new car, and I didn't even realize that when I suggested this. So.
I figured it was just kind of a timely topic, and
No, I
that's why you brought it up.
totally spaced it up until I was like, oh yeah, Eloy got a new car. Just right. Tell us.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a brand spanking new 2006 on the Pilot.
On the Pilot.
So I have my first like SUV sort of.
Dude,
Is that the like boxy one?
Yeah, it's a bit more boxy. It's not like the Odyssey where it's a van. It's like a mid-size SUV. So I think it's classified as.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I think it's a. I classify that. I think because my aunt had that. And I think I classify that as a hip grandma car,
Yeah.
Dude, it's definitely like a soccer mom hip grandma car.
There you go. Yeah, soccer mom. I don't know, man.
I don't know. I was hoping to
bad.
go for something newer and more cool, I should say. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know. She was really just trying to give it away, it felt like. So I'm like, yeah, sure. I only spent $2,500 on it, so
Oh, nice.
everything's great on it.
I remember test driving one of these a couple years ago. I think it might have been a little bit older, but it came with like a fold-out camping table in the back. It was super random. Like, does it have that? Probably not.
It does not.
I think the one I saw was like 2001 or something, but yeah, it's kind of similar to what I have in a way. It's kind of, it's like a compact SUV type thing. Does it four-wheel drive?
Yep.
Yeah. That's what I was going for, is like something that I could drive during any season that's like reliable, blah blah blah. You can get high mileage on it and it'll do okay, like all that type of stuff. So that's cool, man. Seems like should be pretty solid.
Yeah.
I like driving it a lot so far. I'm stoked to try it this winter because my other car was god awful in the snow.
I don't even think it was just in the snow. I think your last car just got awful at some point.
I mean that's true. Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember why you were driving me recently. Within like the last few months, you were driving me somewhere. We took your car somewhere, and you had to we went and got burgers after recording the podcast at one point.
Yeah.
And you had to get out of the car and start your you had to start your engine the
lawnmower.
like the old ass one, or the crank, like the old cars, like the very first Model Ts and shit. That's what it reminded me of.
I had a kill switch for the battery. Basically, it's like a twist lever.
Huh.
Yeah.
Because something was killing my battery, but I think we figured that out. Which is another thing that really pissed me off is that I bought this new car because I thought my other car was just completely going to hell, and then my dad and I spent the better part of a full day just working on that other car, and now I think it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
We went and got a new hood for it and everything. So I mean, it has a white hood, but I think mechanically it's fine now.
I mean, a white hood or I don't even know how to describe the scratches on it before. Was it like a scratch? Was it like what happened to the original hood of
Well,
the
it's
car?
a black car, right?
Yeah, it's a black car.
Yeah.
And then I got into an accident a few months ago. I don't remember exactly how long.
Oh yeah.
And the hood kind of bent inwards towards the cabin. So we basically just hooked it up and pulled it forward, just try and straighten it out.
Okay.
But it didn't get completely straight, so it was just raised above the frame of the front bumper for a while. So then we just had to get a new hood that was already straight and then twist something so it would latch fine. Now it's perfectly flush. It's just a different color.
Is the hood latch still intact and good?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I had a Volkswagen GTI, like a little hatchback, fastback thing. It was 2-door, it had turbo, all this. It was a fun little car, but God, it had so many issues. But one of the big ones was the hood latch stopped connecting and fully closing. And I got it on there as well as I could, and started driving, and it was totally fine, through the neighborhood, and then I get onto not really the freeway, but a faster interstate where you go 55 or whatever. And as soon as I got to 45, 50, the whole hood just flew up and completely blocked my vision, and I had to quickly pull over. And God, that was so terrifying, man. Wow. Then it had little horns on it because it bent the metal. It's only supposed to go up so high, so it went all the way back, it hit the windshield. And so when I got it back down, it was all bent up, and God, that car was a nightmare, honestly. Also very, very bad in the snow because it had street tires, and it was this tiny little lightweight thing, and it would just skid around. I could not drive it in the snow on the freeway at all. Wow. Fun car when the weather's good and when it runs properly and all that, but man, I would never buy one of those again. Wow. It's a disaster car.
Yeah. What was it? A Volkswagen what?
GTI. It's the Golf. It's the little hatchback car.
Yeah.
Yeah, the GTI just has more features, I guess, turbo, 4-cylinder, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. But I won't get too into it because you won't. It doesn't matter. But,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's the faster version, I guess.
Yeah, I get it. I know what turbo is.
Yeah. It's a little thing that just spins and pushes more air into the engine, basically.
Bigger booms.
Yeah.
Goes faster.
Less reliable, though. That was the whole issue. Anyway, I don't need to get into that car, but it fucking, the gas cover flap thing broke, the electronics to that broke, so I had to, pry it open, and then it wouldn't close, and it had a big dent in it from like prying it open. The little like latch for the glove box just snapped off one day. Like just all these, God, like so frustrating issues. And the transmission was going out, and just thing was a disaster. But
Yeah, I'm lucky, I guess, actually. Eloy, actually, real quick, I wanted to bring up to you, Eloy, that, the respectable thing about you and your family is that you can simultaneously have your dad getting a Camaro and being like, yeah, I'm the shit. And then also being like, we're going to work and keep your car working as long as possible.
yeah,
Even if it looks like total shit. We're gonna make it.
it's true.
Your family is all around. I've always appreciated that. You've driven all the cars that Eloy's had. I feel like he's driven them until it's
just problems keep piling up.
Yeah, I've been the same way, man. Like,
so
that is the thing. Like Chris, he loves cars and all that, but he's like, just buy a 2016, man. Like, fuck that old thing. And I'm like, no, let's keep it going. Like, it's perfectly fine,
Yeah, I don't know. I think at a certain, like, you were, like, listing off all the problems with your Volkswagen, and I'm like...
That's the beginning of it. But.
At a certain point, I would be like, I just have to get a new car. Like, I can't. I was lucky because my Civic got totaled, and so I had no choice but to get a new car.
Yep.
It's kind of fucky, though, because I guess when you have no car payment, that's really nice. I actually forgot all about that, not having a car payment, because I had, like, no car payment for, like, a year. And then I got into the accident, and then I had to get a new payment.
Yeah.
And so I guess, actually, that does kind of incentivize to just keep driving the car to the ground. So
True.
I don't know. Are you still paying yours?
Yeah, I'm paying for 3 right now, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
The Volkswagen, so when all that shit was happening, of course it ran totally fine until I was attempting to be self-employed, but it was like still kind of like picking up, and maybe we'll talk about that on the next episode, but so of course, like that's when it starts having issues, when I don't have like excess income to like pour into that shit. Like I just needed a reliable car to like focus on other things, and that's when it all started happening. But so it got to a point where the timing belt, or the serpentine belt, like was starting to go out. Like it was making this really loud clicking noise and was like having issues. And so I bought the new part online and all this shit, and I found a guy that would do it super duper cheap, because most places won't even work on a Volkswagen because they use like metric instead of like standard and all this shit, and
Fucking Germans,
just
man.
everything. Like even like have you ever had to get your car scanned? Like there's that little port like underneath the. Even that has like its own version that you have to. It's just everything about that car was so frustrating. But so I was driving it out to this guy that I found on Facebook in Brigham City, which is like past Farmington, like Lagoon, like northern Utah, like. And maybe I've already talked about this, but I'm driving on the freeway. I'm on my way. I've got the part in the passenger seat. I'm like 30 minutes away, and it snaps, and the car just fully shuts off while I'm on the freeway in the left lane.
Oh, no.
So I had to quickly pull over again on this like very stressful speeding highway, and I'm just, oh God, this is the other thing too. At that time, I was just doing everything I could to make shit work, man. So I had a phone that had like Wi-Fi calling and everything. So I had no service. I'm in this dead car on this speeding highway. Like, God, it was such a nightmare. So I just sat there for a bit, like not really knowing what to do, honestly. And thank God for this. There's like these incident management people that just kind of like cruise around and look for stuff like that. And eventually this guy shows up in like a truck that says that. I think it's like a state-run thing. And he's like, oh, you having troubles? And I'm like, oh, yeah, absolutely. And so he like, it has like the ramp thing. So he like puts down the ramp, and we get the car up onto it. And then he like, not really tows me, but he like takes it over to a gas station and drops me off. And it was like no charge, whatever. It was just like this thing that the state does, I guess. So that was really cool. Like, thank God for that. And then I got a hold of the guy that was going to fix it. He came down and picked it up. And then I don't even know what I did. I think someone had to come get me. I mean, I'm sure they did, but probably my ex. I put her through a lot of hell when I really think about it. And then I waited for him to work on it for like a month because he had to basically like rebuild the engine. Like it has these pistons that go up and down. Like that's, like the gas combusts and then it makes them like go up and down, and then that like it's this whole thing of just motion. And when that happened, the pistons went like through the top of the engine and
Holy
like
shit.
bent, and the whole thing was just fucked. And so
Wow.
he had to replace like all of that. And
Isn't there something specifically for that? I think there's a term that they say, like, when the
like
piston
through a
shoots
rod?
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
yeah, see, I didn't know that. He was like, "Oh, sounds like you threw a rod," and I'm like, "Yeah, sure does." Like,
See, like, I know like these terms, but I don't know like if what they apply to. But
there's probably other ones, but yeah. So I, like I said, I was jobless at the time. I mean, I was making money, but it wasn't what it could have been, I guess. And so I was making payments on it for a couple of months until I couldn't, and then just kind of ignored the credit union. Just kind of, I got away with that for about 4 years, just not paying on it. They kept trying to repossess it, and I didn't want to tell them where it was, and I finally did because I don't know, I guess the guilt caught up to me. So I'm like, here's where it is, go get it. It was repaired. It was totally drivable. I just didn't have the money to, because I was going to pay him for the one thing, not this whole other massive thing. And so the credit union took it, they put it on auction, and then it resold. So that brought down like the amount that I owed because they put that towards the loan, I guess. And
I would have never
Yeah.
thought they did that. I thought
I
they'd have
know.
been like,
Yeah,
hey,
that's-
fuck you, bud.
yeah.
Wow.
So I still owed like 7,000 or something, and then they sold it for like 35 or something like that, and so I just owed that remaining amount.
What did you pay for it?
I think I paid 10,000 or 9,000.
And what year was it?
It was like '05.
And this was when?
Um,
All these problems?
yeah, 2015. Well, I had all the issues in like late 2016. I remember the election was going on and all that. But yeah, so I don't know.
It seems like a lot of problems for a 10-year-old car.
It was a lot. Yeah, I was unbelievably fed up with that. Like, oh my God. But so anyway, eventually they caught up to me and found me and shit, which I tried to pull like a statute of limitations thing on it, but because they like reset the date from the time of the repossession versus like the signing of the contract or whatever, I would have been with like outside of the statute of limitations if they counted that first date, but they count the next one, I guess. I was like, God damn it. So they tried to like sue me and all this shit. So I'm paying for that one. I'm chipping away at it. It's like $3,000 or something. It's not terrible. It's like pay like $125 a month for that. I'm paying for that Jeep that I had. That got totaled. That had a bunch of issues as well, and I was literally praying it would get totaled, and then it did. But I also had to replace the engine on that one because of this whole fiasco, so I'm paying for the engine portion of it because the insurance would only cover so much. So I'm paying for that, the Volkswagen, and my current vehicle. So, yes, sir. Pretty fun.
You've had bad luck. to
I
say
really
the
have.
least.
I really, really have.
Fuck, man.
The best car I've had, except for my very first car, it was good. It was a little Chevy Cavalier, just like a little two-door coupe thing. Nothing special necessarily. Like that car lasted a long time, from like '01 to, well, that's when it was made, to 2015 or whatever when I bought the Volkswagen. And probably could have lasted longer if I didn't drive it like an asshole teenager, like, because I kind of fucked that car up too.
Yeah. I think about my dad having so many problems with his pickup truck, and I'm like, how
Yeah.
many of those maybe because I was being a dumbass?
Oh, I know, man. Well, God, this other thing. Sorry, go ahead.
What the hell did you used to do in that truck?
Well, I don't remember.
I remember you'd like sneak out and take it, but what the hell were you doing?
I mean, I don't know. We were going to me and Eloy, I think, were going to our manager's house, Shanna, for a party at one point, and I don't know. I was driving that pickup truck like 100 miles an hour on the freeway.
Oh, shit. Hell yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was not good. Yeah, it was really not good. I think back on that time, and that's probably like my biggest driving regret is
Yeah.
just driving that like a total asshole. I mean, this car was like 1990 something. I want to say 1995, like Ford pickup truck.
Like a Ranger or whatever.
Yeah, Ranger. I was trying to think. Yeah, it was a Ford Ranger.
Yeah. And those are like built to last forever, those old ones. Like.
Yeah. And, it didn't, because now my dad's driving a Kia Soul. But
Yeah.
but that was fun. Actually, I don't think he's driving a Soul. I think that might have shit out too. Yeah, he got in an accident and got that.
Damn.
Fun.
Well, I have a similar thing. I was just thinking, like, I used to always kind of like party at this guy's house. It was like in high school, this kid. And I was like learning how to drive on that Chevy car for a while. It was a stick shift, and I'd only done it like twice, and I was like still learning, but I like understood the concept. And there was a night we were all drinking and everything, and his older brother had this car. I don't know what it was. This little red two-door or whatever. Nothing crazy. And this girl needed a ride home, and it was pretty far, and so we're like, oh, let's just take Noah's car, like his older brother. And they're like, well, I don't know how to drive it. And I'm like, I do. I've done it before. Like,
It's all about approach.
It's all
You'll
about
drive
approach.
somebody else's car as long as, you know,
well,
they're not being like, hey, you know.
It was a manual, a stick shift, and we didn't even get very far before I had like completely destroyed the transmission by being in the wrong gear and letting it just like, I don't even know exactly what happened, but we had to push it. We got about halfway to her house before it just like was not drivable. I don't know if it was even as bad as I thought it was, but I couldn't like pull out of it because I didn't know what I was doing. And so we just turned it off and pushed it back to his house, and they had to push it up the driveway and then just park it and then like quietly put his keys back in his jacket in his bedroom. And
Oh, my God.
then we had to like walk all the way to her house, of course, after all that bullshit. And yeah, the next morning we're like, what the like we hear him go outside, and then he's like panicking and freaking out and comes in, and we're like, oh, that's weird, man. I don't know. Like, I regret that, man. I was such a shithead. Like, I fessed up to it, and luckily, like, their dad made pretty good money, like, worked for the government or something, and they just bought some other, like, auction car. So, I don't know.
Get some good deals from them,
Worked out.
actually, like the police auctions and shit.
Yeah.
But
I very much regret that, though. I was, like, so stupid.
yeah, that sounds pretty shitty.
Yeah, it was very
Yeah,
shitty.
that's real fucked up.
But I mean, you're a kid, man. I you know.
Shouldn't
Yeah,
have
we've
done
all
it.
done fucked up shit.
Yeah. Speaking of cars, actually, we I think we almost killed our friend. Well, Eloy almost killed our friend.
What happened there?
What?
You didn't actually kill her. You remember when Sarah fell off the hood of the car?
Oh, fuck off. Yeah, I do.
What happened? Oh, shit.
We were
Yeah. Go ahead.
driving. Was it my old Dodge?
Yeah, your neon.
Remember? Yeah, I was just driving that, and for some reason, I mean, we were in our friend's neighborhood, and for some reason, I think it was Logan. Was it you and Sarah on the hood?
No, it was Sarah and Rachel. I don't know. We were like leaving, and they wanted us to do something that we didn't want to do, or something, or something.
You might have to tell this story. You might remember this better than I do.
I don't. I remember the gut feeling I had. I don't know. They were on the hood of the car for some reason, and I don't know. I guess I might have even suggested to Eloy, like, oh, just drive a little bit. Like they'll get scared and they'll jump off, but they didn't. And so, like, Eloy drove around the block and was going to go back to their house, but I don't know exactly what happened.
I think I had to brake for something. I didn't even brake hard, but it was just enough. Since, I mean, they're on the hood. They're not secured at all.
Yeah.
And I think they both fell off, but I think our friend Rachel just kind of landed on her feet, and I think she panicked and just started running to her house.
I think she had some scrapes. I think Rachel had some scrapes on her like
And
arms and
then-
stuff. But
Our friend Sarah like fell off, and she scraped her hand big time coming off of there, and they were all torn up, bleeding horribly.
yeah, Sarah was bleeding really bad. She had to get a bunch of stitches in her hand and shit.
Fucking A.
And that's why they run off to the house. It's because they fell off, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like that's bad. And then they stood up like really fast, and I'm like, "Oh, they're okay." Then they booked it to the house.
Oh,
I'm
they
like,
both ran.
Holy shit!
God.
I was like, "You go, we'll see what the fuck's happening." And then like they're both crying, and we're just kind of sitting there with our hat in hand, kind of like, "Oh my god!"
I
Like,
felt so bad.
Just like freeze up in those moments. Like, what do you do?
That's just dumb teenager shit we were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, her dad didn't let her hang out with us for a long time after that.
Yeah.
Her
And
dad
then
hated
she
us.
used to have
Yeah, sure.
like, well, I think it was like a Isuzu Trooper or something like that.
Holy shit! Yeah.
Man.
And since it was higher than the rest of our cars, we'd hit speed bumps or like no dips, just real fucking fast, ruining the car just so we.
Mhm.
And we didn't wear seatbelts in the back, so we just like fly up.
Yeah.
We'd always thought it was so much fun.
Yeah.
I forgot all about that car, actually. That's funny. I don't remember why, but yeah, we had that was also like a SUV or whatever.
Yeah.
So you could fit a good amount of people in there. And I don't remember what happened, but like we got a big group of people to slough and just go hang out there. Like,
Oh, yeah, I missed those.
I don't even remember what it was for. I just remember talking to my friend Jimmy in the back for something, but yeah, man. I don't know. I feel like I have so many stories to tell, but
I know, me too.
there's
I'm with you.
I need
I could talk about my very first accident that I went to court for.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
You
Wow.
remember that?
I remember you going to court and talking about it, but I don't remember the details. But yeah, so go ahead.
So, oh, sorry, were you gonna say something?
No.
Oh, I thought someone was about to say something. I went to a quote unquote band practice with a couple of my friends. David was the one I was with, and we were leaving his house, and it's up behind Jordan Landing in those apartment complexes.
Yeah.
And they had this intersection, just a four-way intersection, and I thought that it was a four-way stop, or I thought I was clear, so I started going out into the intersection, and some lady came flying around the corner and just, she didn't T-bone me, but she hit my front end, so I kind of spun out a bit.
Yeah.
I was still able to drive the car after that. It wasn't the worst. She got out of the car. She was pissed, but I made sure everybody was okay. And we called the cops, settled everything. And then like 2 or 3 months later, she claimed that she was injured.
Oh, God.
So something started up over that. And then like a month after that, the situation changed to where her kids were now injured. So I think she was just trying to milk the case for as much money as she could get.
It sounds like it.
So my insurance offered her like some sort of just, I think it was like $1,100 or something like that. It wasn't much, but it was a good amount.
Yeah.
Just for
She
the
didn't take
injuries or
that.
for the car?
For the car and injuries and everything.
Oh, that's not bad then.
1,100 for cars and injuries?
Yeah, wow.
How bad was her car?
It wasn't bad.
Okay. I was going to say, if
As
her car got
far as
fucked,
I
that's
can-
not a lot of money. but-
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, neither car was fucked up. I think if any of them would have been ruined, it would have been mine. But even I was still able to
Yeah.
drive out with it. So, where was I? Shit. She was claiming her kids were injured. She was trying to get as much money as she could. So she took it to court, and I was freaking out. I was like, I don't know, maybe 17,
Yeah.
and
That's scary.
I could even tell back then my lawyer was just, he was not good. Even the judge was calling him like, hey, you can't use this as evidence, or you can't use this. That's not how this works. And I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna lose.
Was that just
Which I
like
did.
public
She won.
defender? Yeah, I bet she
Yeah.
did.
It was a
She
public
definitely
defender.
won. And then
Was it? Wait, who was your lawyer? How'd you get your lawyer?
I don't remember exactly. My parents kind of helped me out with it,
Oh,
Oh, okay.
but I don't know. He didn't seem like he knew too much of what he was doing.
He's like an
And, so,
intern.
yeah.
They're too busy. Just send him in there.
Just send the new guy out. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, she won, and they ruled that she would be paid $1,100, but then she had to pay court fees and like her lawyer and everything. So
Exactly.
she ended up getting even less.
Hmm.
So I walked out of it still pretty content.
even though you lost.
Yeah, that's upsetting, but I mean, she ended up walking out with less than she could have had in the beginning. So I'll take it.
All right.
Small victories. I don't know.
All right.
So, but was the car, your car, you didn't get any kind of payout, did you? Like, did you just have to drive it being kind of janky after that?
Yeah, I think all that was really wrong with it is that you could visually tell that it got hit,
Yeah.
and the alignment was a little off, and it wasn't like a simple realignment that would fix it.
Hmm.
But that's about it.
Yeah.
And she was driving a big ass SUV too. So
Damn.
Didn't we do the alignment in our school after you got in that accident? I don't remember.
probably.
Oh, yeah.
We had auto class, and I remember just working on Eloy's car a lot. I think we changed the oil like 15 times because that's all we could do like very well.
I know. I was so proud I could change a tire just because it's, hang out with a
We
girl or
rotated
they don't
tires.
know.
Oh yeah,
I
we
got
rotated
this.
tires too.
Yeah.
I think we tried to change. I was talking to Josh the other day that I need to probably change my brakes.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll just do that when I get my registration fixed next month, so I can just do
That
it all in
works.
one big thing. But I think we tried to change Eloy's brakes one time in auto class, and we had learned caliper brakes, or caliber brakes, whatever the fuck they're called, the caliper
Yeah.
brakes.
Yeah.
They're really easy to fix.
True.
You just pull that bitch off, you swap them out, put it back on, tighten it, whatever.
Yep.
But then we learned that I think your back ones were drum brakes, and that was like a pain in the ass. And
those
we
suck.
had to stay like an hour after class had ended because your car was just
Yeah.
lifted up, and we're like, oh fuck, like
Has those little springs in there. Or mine did when I had this old SUV that I got for $700 that was just covered in rust, and that I had to do those, and it was a nightmare just trying to get the bolts off because it was rusted. Like,
Yeah.
it's not fun. Like, you pull off that whole thing, and like, yeah.
so. It was a
Down
pain.
with drum brakes.
Yeah. We had to get the teacher to help us. I mean, we didn't even get him to help. I think Eloy and I both have like a pride sense in us in some regard. We're
Yeah.
like, we can do this. We'll finish it.
Yeah.
And then eventually he's like, what are you guys still doing here? Like, he's checking his watch like he wants to go home or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you see, well, you need to do this and this and this. And I was like, oh, shit. But I still feel like that teacher kind of hated me and Eloy because, and I don't even remember exactly why, but I feel like he just kind of felt like we weren't capable or something. I don't know.
Not
I
very
mean, we
coachable.
probably were the least capable in the class. But
I mean, yeah, maybe. I remember there was like little tests at the end of the year to see that you could do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I remember
we did decent in the class. Okay, we
Yeah.
weren't horrible, but
we got a passing
we're
grade.
up to
Yeah.
snuff, I suppose.
Yeah. I think the second year he started to kind of like us a little bit more, but I think that first year he was kind of like,
These kids again.
these fucking kids. And I think he kind of knew that we were just kind of getting the credit because, like I said, we changed the oil 15 times or whatever. And
Yeah.
because we were supposed to do like a different project every Friday
Okay.
or whatever. And we're just like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Just- he also had like a engine that you could take apart just on like a stand. And we did that a few times.
That's pretty cool. I
But,
took auto shop, but I didn't take it very seriously. I kind of wish I had. That sounds fun in a way. Like,
Well, that's actually what I was going to think about doing. Is like I'll just go to a trade school and be an auto like a mechanic. And then, funnily enough, when I was kind of dating, not really though, Eloy's cousin, her dad was like, "You don't want to do this." Like,
oh, really?
it's kind of like what he said.
Yeah, he's a diesel mechanic.
Yeah, he's kind of like, you don't want to do that. You want to go to school. You want to go for like something else, and that kind of scared the shit out of me. 'Cause I was like, oh man, okay, maybe I should go to Glen. And then it's funny. I think that probably was one of the catalysts for me signing up to go to community college. Was him being like, you don't want to be a mechanic.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, all right.
I actually enrolled a week or two ago, funny enough. I became single and enrolled in community college after our episodes, so it's strange.
Yeah.
I haven't fully dove into it yet, but I think I will. I don't know.
Nice.
Getting started.
Yeah. What are you just gonna do like online classes, or you're gonna go to the campus?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you probably don't even know.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess online for now. We'll see. I don't know though. I've like as far as like a trade school for mechanics and stuff. I feel like it could be good. Like, you know, those, you ever like gone to a guy that just does it out of his house? Like sometimes they really take it seriously. They have like the lift and everything in their garage, and
Yeah.
the guys I've seen do that seem like they do pretty well, like with money and everything. But there's a difference between a guy that like that's his business and a guy that just does it like for side money and only has like a handful of tools and stuff. Like
I was actually, this wasn't a guy doing it in like his garage. He had like a actual business or whatever. But
yeah,
I went to get my registration done last year, and I walk in to the like quote unquote like front area business, the desk area,
yeah.
and it's just piled with shit. Like it's
bet.
it's the biggest dump I've ever seen in my life, where it's just like papers and like car tools and oil and everywhere.
Yep.
And I was just thinking to myself, this is the one profession where you can literally not give a fuck about that kind of stuff.
It's
and
true.
You'll still get business.
Yeah.
It was just amazing to me. And he was a nice, I think he was an immigrant guy, and he was a nice dude. But
Is this near downtown, kind of?
like
But more like Glendale-ish or whatever?
South, yeah.
I went to a pretty
more like
similar-
Rose Park-ish area.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the same place.
Lee's
Is it on like a corner?
something, I think so.
That could be the same one.
Maybe like a yellow building, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
When I went, he had the little AirPod in one ear. You know, that's like
Yeah.
the new Bluetooth businessman thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, same shit. It's just messy. Well, that's funny because like that's the kind of shop you go to either for budget or desperation or both. Like
Yeah.
there's all these like tiers of auto shops, you know.
That's true.
There's people that only go to the dealership and they want it fast and like everything clean, and then yeah, there's like that type of stuff where it's just like super cheap and everything, but you kind of drive away like, I hope this is okay. Like,
Yeah, he was just doing my
Okay.
registration, so I think,
Oh,
maybe
yeah,
he
that's
was
not
just
bad.
like, oh yeah, that's fine. Here you go. Well, pay $200 or whatever, but
yeah.
Sort of touching on this subject, how do we feel about, I think it's just, I don't know if it's this year or last year. I think it was last year that they
Oh,
no longer need you to do safety inspections.
yeah.
well,
Longer
it's
required.
emissions that they don't want you to do. It's still safety. What, it was back? No, it is. You're right. Safety. They don't do safety.
Yeah, that's so weird.
I thought maybe.
Yes. Emissions are still required if you're before a certain year, but yeah, like safety, they just don't do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, like Tooele, they don't do emissions either. Like, and even
Honestly, that's where my cars are registered right now.
yeah, there you go, man. I one time when I had that old SUV, the $700 rust bucket, and it was a solid car, by the way, it was a good car. But I took it to this like towing lot where they also did auto work, and I had them do a safety inspection. And yeah, he literally came out with a clipboard, and he was just like, "Turn on your blinker, press the brakes, windshield wiper." All right, you're good. Come in and pay. Like, he like barely did anything. It's like, hell yeah. And that was a state, safety inspection. Like, it's so funny. But
Well, I'm on the DMV Utah.gov, and it says if you have a car older than 6 years, it's required. And then it's like every other year. So 2016, 2018, and then anything from 2014 to 1968 is required. So I think maybe there's still. Oh no, it's emissions. God damn it, these motherfuckers!
Yeah, I was gonna say.
What the fuck? I specifically typed in safety and it brought me to emissions. I'm sorry. Never.
Safety doesn't
mind.
exist anymore.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Is that just like I don't know. Why did they even do that? You'd think they would want the money for that, but
I don't know.
who knows?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's like you just said, it's pretty easy money for them, and then most of the time, I guess it's pretty easy to tell if you have something going on with your car. Because I mean, it's not like they're pulling it apart for safety inspection. So I guess I get why they got rid of it, but it's strange to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't know. Maybe it's. I mean, this is total speculation, but maybe it's better to get like fix-it tickets or something. Like, you know, if you get pulled over and they say, "Hey, you got to get this changed out" or whatever. Maybe they wanted the money to go there. I really have no idea. It's like.
I don't know.
That's one way of looking at it.
You gotta look at
I
it
was
from
just
the
thinking,
corrupt
like,
perspective.
Yeah. I don't know. There probably wasn't a good reason for it, and they just did it. But, frankly, but yeah,
Too much paperwork.
exactly. Well, we've been going for hour and 15 almost. Do you guys still want to talk about this, or how do you guys feel?
Good. I actually got to go call someone back. I think it's Amazon. So,
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
Gonna be working for them. See how that goes.
Oh, you're
So
gonna
I
do
guess there's going to
deliveries.
be a lot
Or
of
you're gonna work?
intersection between
Yeah,
this and the next topic. So
Yeah.
You're gonna do deliveries. You're gonna be just
Yeah.
doing the
Yeah, driving.
warehouse.
They do 1 day of virtual training, so I'm really curious what that's gonna be like.
Virtual training.
Yeah, just because of COVID and everything.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm gonna, the ending thing we're gonna do on this day. On this day, when is this episode releasing? The 29th of March. Sorry.
okay.
I'm ending this the way you started it. Not prepared at all. March 29th. Ludwig van Beethoven had his debut performance as a pianist in Vienna. So
That's pretty sweet.
there's your... Remember, on this day, Beethoven made a debut performance. All right, guys. Thanks for listening to this episode of Vice of Life, and we'll see you back here next week. And bye.
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 Thanks for listening, guys. Be sure to check us out on Instagram and Twitter at Vice of Life Pod. You can listen to us on our new YouTube channel at Vice of Life. Send us an email if you want at viceoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Review and subscribe wherever you listen. And if you really love us, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/viceoflife.